What is up, guys? Ncaa 31 here. Continuation of my previous video, part one of NCAA 14's most unique slash most fun playbooks to use, in my opinion. And part of what made this game so good is that there were just, so many of them. I mean, I first originally tried to narrow it down to 10. That didn't work. Then I went with 20, and I could have easily gone 25. There were some that were on the fence that I could easily have included that I didn't. But what can you do? I mean, there's just a lot of really good playbooks to choose from. The ones that tended to be the worst playbooks in NCAA were the ones that fell in that multiple playbook tier. You had your option playbooks, your one back offense, you had pistol, spread, pro style, and air raid. Air raid and spread were kind of separate from each other. And you also had a group classified as multiple. And those tend to be, in my opinion, the least desirable ones. And the reason why is because they were the most like Madden playbooks. Big, bloated messes that really didn't have an identity because it was just a mishmash of all kinds of stuff, which you would, kind of cycle through and be like, nah, I don't really want to run that. Okay, that looks okay, but there's not enough of that in best formation, so hopefully there's another formation that has more of what I want to run, and then you sift through all the pages in the playbook and all the formations in it and hang your hat on maybe 3, 4, 5 formations out of the maybe 15, 20 that were in it. Not nearly as well organized as the other ones. In fact, in part one, only one multiple playbook, quote unquote, made the cut, and that was Boise State's playbook. So, anyhow, let's get right to it. And we're going to start with, first up is Bama. Now, again, we're going in alphabetical order here, and it's a little bit humorous because this playbook is nowhere close to how Alabama plays now, but it's just funny. Saban has for years complained about up-tempo offenses and RPOs, and what Nick Saban tends to do when he does complain about something is because he wants to try to be that. So I think one of the more interesting transformations Alabama has undertaken in recent years is that they went from being this kind of game manager type offense where the quarterback is an extension of the coach on the field, those type of cliches, and they have a parade of backs, mammoth offensive line, and the passing game was, efficient but pretty basic and dependent on having just insane talent at wide receiver and tight end, to now being a, dynamic quarterback led spread tempo, RPO tempo offense. And he's changed his recruiting for it. He's changed the type of quarterbacks that he brings in, and he's changed his recruiting on defense to defend it, and he's also changed schematically to defend it as well. He still plays his Ripple pattern match, but he also plays a fair amount of Chris Peterson style 4-2-5 quarters with hybrid defenders all over the field. He completely transformed the way they play on the fly, and barely anyone noticed. It's really one of the interesting on-the-fly transformations that I've ever seen. Most normal programs, they go through a transition period when they try to make a schematic shift. They'll have some down years here and there while I go through it and recruit to play to it. But Alabama recruits at such a ridiculously absurd rate as far as talent is concerned. They can just kind of plug and morph and change things on the fly and not skip a beat. Really, it was Johnny Manziel that forced him to change, and also having to play Clemson every dang year, and either in a playoff game or in a championship game, dealing with Deshaun Watson. Really dynamic quarterback play has usually been his one kryptonite, and he basically copied the offense that they use against him, and schematically evolved his defense to basically match what Big 12 teams try to do when they face these offenses on a weekly basis, but with a bevy of NFL prospects on that side of the ball too. They're just insanely just blessed with a parade of talent. And this playbook is kind of a mix of their under center hammer the ball ways, and some pistol and spread stuff where you can run some zone read and all that good stuff, and have a decent shotgun spread passing game. So it's kind of a mix of both, which EA tends to do when a team is kind of changing schematically, but they don't overhaul it entirely. They just kind of make the playbook a hybrid. And I thought with this playbook they did a pretty decent job of that. Next up is Baylor. Now this playbook is a little bit dated. Again, a few years have passed between this version of this replication of how Baylor plays and how they play now, but it still does a very good job of spraying the field. You have an abundance of 10 personnel, 2x2, and trips. More 10 personnel than any other playbook except for the run and shoot one. So you have a whole slew of formations where you can spread the field sideline to sideline. The splits are nice, and you can do a lot of things. And again, this would be a playbook where if the RPO game was in it, it would be a lot more authentic to how they really play, but it still does a pretty good job with giving you a offense that will spread the field. You can run a variety of options. You can run buck sweep, you can run inside zone, you can run out of the pistol downhill as well, and the route concepts are pretty vertical in nature with your bubble screen and some shallow crosses here and there. For Madden 20, I will be making this playbook again. With the RPOs, I should be able to get it a lot closer to how they actually run the offense. You don't have the choice route concept, especially from the slot, neither in this game, and the only way it would happen in Madden is if I could add some of the run and shoot choice plays to a custom playbook, which remains to be seen. They did make a couple of changes to the way 4 verts is run, which might make that a little bit more possible, but again, we'll see. But again, a lot of ways to go sideline to sideline out of 4 wide, and also with 11 personnel. You can run it downhill out of HB offset sets. You can do some damage in the dual threat QB realm. If you don't have a dual threat QB, you can wing the ball around. And really this system is the natural evolution of the spread offense as far as being able to maximize width and length of the field. Basically, it's a combination of Mike Leach, Mouse Davis, Chip Kelly, Rich Rodriguez rolled into one offense. Hence the name Veer and Shoot. Really good playbook. Lets you do a lot of things. Mobile QB, pocket QB, bounce QB. You can make it work either way. BYU. I've always liked BYU's playbook. It's not the sexiest air raid playbook on the face of the earth. A couple of things that make it unique is that they have the most split back sets out of any of the air raid playbooks in the game, kind of an homage to BYU's air raid roots. That's how the system began, as an under center offense, basically out of a pro set. And then it kind of branched out from there, of course. That's one of the reasons why I like it. I like that little nod to history. And I basically consider this a quote-unquote pro-style air raid playbook, because you can get under center and you have a variety of I formations you can use as well if you want to punch the ball in from inside the red zone, or if you want to run the clock out under center out of the I formation. You can throw the ball halfway decently out of the I sets as well. You got a shotgun bunch set, which I don't believe too many other air raid playbooks have. And you have your air raid staples all over the place, your normal Y flex, your 11 personnel formations, and some 10 personnel, as well as an empty set. Just a good meat and potatoes air raid playbook, which may not have a whole heck of a lot of frills, but has the core staple stuff. We've had a couple of generations of the air raid offense now, so the new generation guys and the newer generation guys like Holgerson, Gundy, Mazzoni, Sumlin, Sonny Dykes, they have more of the sexy stuff out of the pistol, more of a multifaceted run dynamic and play action pass dynamic out of it. That's all well and good, but every once in a while I just like the old school, and BYU just kind of scratches at it for me and gives you, like I said, here's the I formation sets, which can run a nice variety of stuff here. All those plays are stuff that you would want to have in an under center passing game and not feel like you're hopeless if you do go under center. You got I form slot, I form pro, you got a couple of power I sets as well. All pretty well done. And you have one pistol set. BYU is kind of like the air raid version of Hawaii. It's like part of their program DNA. Clemson. Clemson. Clemson's playbook in this game is a pistol and a shotgun hybrid. A lot of pistol sets. I get why they did it this way. Clemson's offense is basically Clemson. People tend to miscast Clemson's offense because they have had such high-level QB play for so many years now. Going back from Taj Boyd, you got Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, and now you have Trevor Lawrence, and that's three really high-level QBs for multiple seasons all in a row. And they also have outstanding wide receivers. Remember back when they had Sammy Watkins and DeAndre Hopkins, and Sammy Watkins was considered the better player? I mean, just insane. They also have an army of backs. I always say that Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia and Ohio State are the same program. They recruit the same level of athlete. They just have ways of them, and just how they're coached and how they're used schematically is pretty much what decides the day. But yeah. So in this playbook here, you have a lot of downhill running from the pistol. It's basically a spread ISO offense, and you have the ability to go from pistol, multiple tight ends, multiple backs. You can go 4 wide out of the pistol as well as out of the shotgun, and also 11 personnel out of both sets, and run downhill, run option. You got a good standard NCAA 14 type downfield passing attack to complement that. Again, I say this over and over again, but the RPO game is not in this. Most of these spread to run teams, the bulk of their passing game is play action RPO, and their downfield passing game is pretty, generic. It's pretty simple. You might have some smash and some shallow cross and 4 verts here and there, but you don't have the amount of West Coast style route concepts that you would have in a video game playbook, because a lot of those concepts there's not enough of them in the game. But you have levels there as well, spacing, stick. All those things are going to be consistent no matter what type of offense you run. Like everybody runs smash, everyone runs shallow cross, everyone runs levels, stuff like that. You got your jet sweep and your wildcat stuff. Just a good spread to run playbook where you can bludgeon people with the pistol game. You can spread them out with a shotgun game as well as pistol 4 wide. You can run load option, speed option, triple option, read option, and you can go wildcat and just wreak havoc. Mizzou, the Missouri Tigers. Missouri has a long and storied spread tradition going back to Brad Smith, Chase Daniel, and this playbook is what I call, kind of like Wyoming, an extreme spread playbook. Extreme. You have more empty sets out of this playbook than you do out of Wyoming's. This is a don't fool around, don't get cute. Just go around and sling the rock around. Sling the rock around. Only run it when the box is like 4 or 5 deep, and just have some fun. Run a bevy of shallow crosses. Run a bevy of post routes. Run some screens here and there. Run your curl flats, your 4 verts, your smash, your Y corner. Pop a jet sweep in there. Spread the field 2x2. Go monster. Go trips. Go empty out of a half dozen empty sets. Run some cake option. Run some inverted veer. Just have a party. It's a really good spread playbook. Really good. It's pretty simple, pretty vanilla, but the formations are just so much fun. Here we're in the trip section of our programming. You can just run a lot of sideline floods. You could run your flood switch. You can run your motion option stuff, your levels, your play action wide receiver in, all that stuff that's been around for years. You can go trips open. So we've seen 3 spread trips set already. You got your 5 wide bunch. Here's where it gets really mental. You got 5 wide bunch. You got empty spread. You can run your load option, your read option, your QB blast, your jet sweep out of that one formation. You got 5 wide, and you can do more of the same thing. So that's 3 empty sets, not including monster. 5 wide trips. It's just a crazy playbook, and you have bunch quads. And if that's not enough empty sets, you also have empty quads. She can run all this no huddle, stay in empty, go from empty quads or empty base to spread 11 personnel stuff. It's just crazy. You have pistol full house. If you want to put more muscle on the field, you also have pistol wide trips, pistol spread. I mean, it's just nuts. Any way you can spread the field, you can spread it in this playbook. And you have Wildcat. So, yeah, have yourself a spread party. Next up is Nevada, the Pistol Pioneers. Chris Alt's baby. The program that put the pistol formation and the pistol offense in general on the map. Got some unique formations like this pistol train set, pistol jumbo Z. You can power the ball at people. You can run zone read. You can run jet sweeps. You can run speed option with the back or to the receivers. You can run triple option. Just a lot you can do. And Nevada's one of those programs, again, one of those non-BCS Power 5 programs that they're not on the Boise. They used to be on. They used to be on that Boise level and TCU level. They used to spoil more than one Boise State season when Boise State tried to crash the BCS party. Every now and then they'd run into Nevada and they'd be a thorn in their side. Same with TCU as well. TCU, Nevada, Boise were those pain in the behind programs that you never want to play. And while TCU has made the jump to a power conference, Boise and Nevada are kind of content to stay where they're at. And when Nevada had Colin Kaepernick, my God, Kaepernick was insane in this offense. These are Colin Kaepernick's senior year stats. All right, 14 games. 64% completion percentage, 64.9, so let's call it 65. 3,022 yards passing, 8.4 yards per attempt, 21 touchdowns, 8 INTs. Rushing, his rushing numbers, 173 attempts or carries, 1,206 yards, 7 yards per carry average, 20 touchdowns. So his senior year, he accounted for 41 touchdowns. For his career, he had over 10,000 yards passing, 82 touchdown passes. He ran for 4,100 yards at 6.9 yards per carry. And how many touchdowns did he have? He had 59 rushing touchdowns for his career. Crazy. He was just a complete stud in this offense, and Jim Harbaugh was smart enough to incorporate a large chunk of the Nevada offense into his own offense when he had Cap and nearly won a Super Bowl. Kaepernick was an absolute god in this offense. He was just sick. Alrighty, Notre Dame, my Fighting Irish. This is your quintessential pro-style 11 personnel spread playbook. That's basically what this is. Of course, nowadays, the offense looks nothing like this whatsoever. This is more based off of, or closer to, Brian Kelly's Cincinnati spread offenses, where you got some zone read, some inside zone, some power here and there, but mostly he wants to throw the ball, and you got a lot of, just your typical West Coast style, shotgun West Coast style passing concepts out of what is now the most common personnel grouping that you find both in the NFL and in the college ranks. 3 wide, 1 tight end, 1 back. You got some plays in here that replicate the vertical stems type of flavor that he tends to like. Like you have your 4 verts and you have your 4 verts, not 4 verts, but you have verts with comebacks, you have deep corner routes, that kind of stuff. But you have a bevy of shallow crosses, you have some mesh, there's your play action vertical comebacks, for example. You have your curl flats, your Z spots, stuff like that. Play action, or inverted veers and reads. You got your bunch tight end, you got your tight slots, trips tight end, wide trips. You got your 10 personnel spread and trip sets as well. I got a couple of those, and you got 3 empty sets as well. A good pro-style spread playbook that isn't overly reliant on having a quarterback that's a runner. Of course, in real life, Brian Kelly has evolved the offense, pretty dramatically over the years, he incorporated some pistol, like some of the ace sets here that are in the playbook for this one. They now pretty much run that stuff out of the pistol, and now they're a zone read, RPO, play action, shot pass offense for the most part. He brought in Chip Long, and he actually this time around let his coordinator run the offense, and it ended up saving his job. Kelly used to run the offense completely by himself, ran all the other OCs that he ever brought in there out of there. And I think the last year, the Everett Golson era against Arizona State, where they just got completely dismantled, I think was the last straw. And I think and knowing a little bit about Brian Kelly, if you know anything about Brian Kelly, he's a bit of a hothead. He was probably forced into doing this, but he brought in Chip Long, and he lets Chip Long install his offense, and he, for the most part, leaves him be. I've always been a Brian Kelly fan, a Brian Kelly defender, but he's been starting to irritate me a little bit over the past few years, and he had to change. He had to stop getting into his quarterbacks' faces all the time. He had to stop berating his players. He had to let his coordinators do their jobs. He had to get rid of Brian Van Gorder, which he finally did. He had to learn how to delegate, because the man can recruit. You see it. One of the things that frustrates me about Notre Dame in recent years is that you see Notre Dame send players to the NFL Combine. They test great. You see them being drafted in more numbers in the first 3 rounds of the draft and play well on Sundays, but they get into these games against the Clemsons of the world, and they still look slow. And I'm like, and there's a disconnect there. You're getting better athletes, but for whatever reason, it's not translating on the field on a consistent basis. I mean, Jalen Smith went to Notre Dame, for crying out loud. They're getting the athletes there now, but again, they're running into this wall whenever they hit a real big-time, power team. They handled Georgia pretty well a couple of years ago. They still lost the game, but they weren't run off the field. And in the playoff game, they were in that game for most of the first half until they had a couple of breakdowns, and then you saw the same thing. Clemson just had more athletes than they did, and they ran away from them in the second half, and they couldn't block them worth a damn. Nor could they get open downfield. But then you see Miles Boykin, Drew Tranquil, Dexter Williams, Jerry Tillery go to the Combine and show out. You have Tillery picked in the first round. Julian Love will probably be the Giants' nickel corner day 1 of training camp. And you're like, what's going on? Why don't I see this play on the field? Why don't I see this translate on the field when they're in the program? It's just strange. It's really weird. And again, I think this year it's going to be very telling for them, because they're going to have a sick defensive line, and they have some beasts that they have to play. That road game in Georgia is going to be very telling of where they're at as far as being able to consistently recruit year after year top level NFL prospects. All right, that's my Notre Dame tirade that I go on from time to time. Got kind of sidetracked there. Anyway, next up is Texas A&M, and really Texas A&M represents the this could have just as easily been Texas Tech, West Virginia, UCLA, Houston, the third generation air raid guys. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, they're all cut from the similar, cloth. More dynamic run game, more dynamic, QB run game especially, more play action, more shots down the field, along with still your shallow cross and your, mesh, your Y corner, your Y cross, and all that good stuff, your Y stick. But it's more multiple as far as formations and as far as personnel groupings are concerned. And I just happen to like the fact that A&M's version has a little bit more power read. Again, this is a Johnny Manziel era Texas Tech air raid. And, you got your dynamic, generational, multifaceted quarterback. That's what you do with them. Good mix of 21, 11, 10, and 12 personnel, with good formation overlap, out of the shotgun and out of the pistol. You got your empty stuff here. You got your pistol full house that Dana Holgerson put into popularity, his diamond set. Pistol strong slot, weak slot, and again, you see formation overlap all over the place with little wrinkles here and there with auto motion and some different route combos tied to some similar concepts. That's the beauty of the air raid offense. And, I really like to go between pistol spread, pistol 4 wide, and be able to do that seamlessly into the shotgun or tie that seamlessly into the shotgun, no huddle, and not lose much. That's really the modern air raid. Multiple personnel groupings, motions, more dynamic route tagging. Alrighty, UL Monroe. This is another one. This is our third Bizarro World spread playbook. The previous two were Wyoming and Mizzou. Whenever you see a playbook in NCAA 14 that looks just weird and you're trying to make sense of it, the best thing to do is go look and see who the quarterback was during that time period. And chances are it was during a time, the playbook was put together during a time when that particular team had a quarterback that was a one-man army. He had to do everything. And when you get programs like that, you get playbooks like this, like Middle Tennessee, like Wyoming, like Missouri, where you have this weird amalgamation of stuff. You have a bevy of QB runs and options and motion options out of the pistol and the shotgun and out of empty, combined with just really crazy pass concepts. This offense was nicknamed the Fun Row offense, which is, I guess, a fitting name for it when you can just consider that they were pretty damn productive out of it, and it was just crazy. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it, but it does have a lot of really unique formation variety and a lot of aggressive routes and a good option and QB run game, so I suppose it's fitting. I mean, you got power pistol, you got spread pistol, you got shotgun 2-back, you have some ace, you have a whole bunch of spread trips and trio sets, and you have a whole bunch of empty sets. Again, it seems like the most weird, schizophrenic mental playbooks have all these empty sets. Like here's empty spread, similar to Wyoming's in a way. Empty base. You can run your QB draws or blasts and options, and you have 5-wide trio, your load options there, 5-wide flex trio. Again, just a really crazy playbook they can do a lot of crazy things out of, and you have Wildcat slot as well. Just a nutty playbook. Alrighty, and lastly we have the USC Trojans, the Men of Troy. This is our second, I believe, pro-style playbook entry out of the 20. Good book, good pro-style book. You have very few, if any, formations that make you want to puke and make you say, no, don't really feel excited about using this, which is, again, a common theme amongst the NCAA playbooks in general. I mean, there are playbooks that I left out of here that I could have easily put in. Ohio State, Arizona, Hawaii, Western Kentucky, Washington, UCLA, Texas Tech, Arizona State, Georgia, Florida State. I can name a few more. Ole Miss. There's just a lot. There's so many. But alas, I mean, I can only do so many of these. But anyway, got a good under center ace selection. You got an under center empty set. You got some eye. And again, unlike Madden, you don't feel helpless in the passing game when you go I formation, or if you go ace 2 tight ends, or even 11 personnel. I mean, in Madden, the selection of 11 personnel under center ace sets that are good are few and far between. In this game, you don't really feel trapped or forced into anything. You got just so much more variety. Strong eye, twin eye, flex, or twins flex strong eye. I believe you have weak eye as well. Still like this is twins tight end. But a good under center, pro style West Coast type of game. Very Lane Kiffin, John Gruden-y, so to speak. And the selection of stuff you have to work with on the shotgun side isn't bad at all. The split offset set seems to be a bit of a weird fit, but whatever. Then you have your 2x2 11 personnel stuff. Got some jet sweep and read option here and there, but mostly zone run, inside zone, and outside zone. Some auto motion mesh, and you got some levels concepts there. Your quick slants, your curl flats, smash, play action, deep comebacks. Stuff you'd expect to see in a pro style offense. Really good, well-rounded book. A little more pass-centric than Stanford's, but not bad. Not bad at all. And that's it. Those are my top 20 most unique / fun playbooks of NCAA 14 in this NCAA nostalgia week. It would be so good. It would be so much fun to see a next-gen NCAA game. But alas, that's not going to happen anytime soon. It's a shame. It really is a great, fun game to play. I really enjoy it. And, thankfully with the Operation Sports roster editing community, you can download updated rosters toward the beginning of every college season to keep your dynasties fresh. So anyway, that's it for me. I'd love to hear what your favorites are from this game, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace.